For anybody who just joined us, nice to see you. Welcome to our live broadcast. Debs, am I loud enough today? Is it sounding loud enough?
It is to me. I'm not sure how it is to Aziza or how it is to our community, but
Okay,
it's sounding loud enough.
wonderful. Let's just imagine that it is working really well. The difference today is a slight caveat in the fact that we're going to be recording today's session, hopefully to be able to share that with people in the future, because we've done so many good sessions and people say, oh, where can I missed it? Can I get a recording of it? To which the answer immediately is no. I think it's been decided like that by our friends at ultimately at LinkedIn, because they want to make sure that you get on the call to be able to do it, which I can understand completely. However, it doesn't help us if we're trying to be able to share it with people or grow with a community, because a lot of the stuff that gets done in this session is really useful and could be used by other people to be able to grow what they do. And at least a lot of the direction we end up taking is about mental health and wellness. And I know that a lot of people have challenges that they want to be able to address, and we help to do that. So that's the plan for today, to be able to help people and maybe record that as well. If you just join us in the group, nice to see you. Everybody's welcome to come on stage at some point, by the way. I'll let you know what the rules for engagement are, then we'll say hello to Debbie and say hello to Aziza as well. The rules for engagement are, we'd love to know who you are, what you do, everything, but it's also already put inside your inside your LinkedIn profile. So this is a clinic for about an hour. I say a clinic, it's not a proper doctor. I'm not a proper doctor. Nobody who joins us is a proper doctor, but we do like to share as many tips as we can do, because a lot of very smart people, often much more smart than me. So that means that when I finally stop talking, we open it up for you to put your hand up in a virtual way on your app, and then we can bring you up to the stage, and then you can ask a question or make a comment or do something that's contributing to the conversations and directions that we're going in. And we've had some amazing speakers, some amazing conversations of late, and you're very welcome to join. But please don't get on stage and then start doing a monologue or start telling us about, everything you've ever done since leaving university, because it does go on. We haven't got an amount of time to be able to cover that properly. I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, I've got a special surprise to play today, which hopefully everybody's going to enjoy. And if they don't, then they won't. But first, Debbie, how are you? How was your week?
I am very well, thank you. Just a little bit hoarse this morning, so if I go on mute, my apologies. But no, week was good. Up north had some snow, and we are thankfully just experiencing rain. Yeah, all good. How are
Well,
you?
same as Dubai. Dubai is raining. I dropped off my daughter today. She's in a school play, and they've got to basically cram in as many of the practices as they can do before they go live in April. Unfortunately, I'm going to be traveling, I think, when it goes, or is it? It's March, I think they go live. But it rained. So what tends to happen out here is they don't prepare for rain very well until they've had too much, and then they start doing the drainage systems. And so I might not see my daughter until tomorrow. So I gave her an extra packet of crisps in case she has to school, because I care.
Not a rowing boat or anything.
No, well, that's cost money, man. What are you thinking? And Aziza, how are you today?
Our
I'm
beautiful
good, thank you.
Aziza.
Good, thank you.
Oh, good, thank you. That's as nice as it gets today. She'll join us later on and share lots of insights. And she's basically the person that makes everything come together. And so she's like the producer of the show as well, which is fantastic. So with that being said, I want to test something a little bit different. What they're doing today, and I've been interviewing some big stars over the last week, and I'll be bringing them as a new part of a podcast and sharing the insights of becoming a thought leader. But what I've got is a thing called the thought leader game. Now, I haven't set it up because I didn't expect to be able to share this with you due to the technology that we've got, but we can do the thought leader game live on today's session. I'll tell you more about the guests. In fact, I'll tell you who we've got so far. We've got Mary Henderson, who's one of the most respected LinkedIn branding experts, and also Joel Com. That's spelled COMM. Just Google him, and he's like one of the biggest hitters in the internet marketing space. And also he has been for about 20 years. He also was responsible for bringing out the world's number one app about 15 years ago, which was an app that when you pressed it, it went and and that was it. But it did very well for him. It still makes him thousands of dollars a year. So they are just some of the many guests I'll be bringing into future sessions. But this is our special opportunity to get together and chat and say hi. So the best way that this will work is I have a pad in front of me, an iPad, which you can't see, but I'm now going to be sharing on the session, which is going to be a recorded broadcast. If you'd like to take part in a competition, it's not really a competition as such. It just gives you a chance to become a thought leader for the day. I'll ask you to choose a number between 1 and 20. And when we do that, there's a certain number of questions I will ask you, which will help you to hone your position to understand whether you are a big game changer or not. And it would be much easier if you could see what the 1 to 20 was. But I guess the easiest way to do it is rather than me asking you to choose a number between 1 and 20, which is completely impossible without knowing what they are. Just jump on stage, trust me, and tell me a little bit about yourself and let me know what your biggest challenge is. And then we'll put you to the test and play the thought leaders game. If you fancy doing that, all you have to do is put your hand up and come to join us on stage. It is a Sunday, so there's no excuse for people who are working unless your job is to work on a Sunday. And very few people actually have that. Sometimes you do it because it's just easier to do it, and sometimes you do it because you're a bit bored, and sometimes you do it because you go onto social media and think, well, are they doing stuff without me? What's going on? Same thing, same people, same content is pretty much the answer to that. So if you're in the group and you're wondering whether to join in or not, then should we test it, Debbie? You've done this before, so you know what the game is. Could we get you to participate as our first person? And then after that, hopefully, will be a string of people. I'm using you as a guinea pig. You realize that?
Oh my word! And the shame, and you're recording today.
I am recording, so just let everybody know that we are recording it. I'm not sure if we're going to broadcast it. Probably just put it onto our podcast, which you can get through the links on the comments. We've got a regular podcast that goes out every week, and it's a shame to waste these sessions. That's why we're doing it. So, Debs,
I'm happy to volunteer.
What's your biggest challenge? And let's see if we can get that up and running with the podcast.
My biggest challenge at present is my voice. Getting my voice out there, finding speaking gigs.
Okay, finding speaking gigs. Great question. So I'm just going to have a look at this, your success roadmap, and ask you some questions about that. So finding your voice is a number of challenges because your inner voice and your outer voice are slightly different. Your inner voice is obviously what goes on in your head and how you think about things. Your outer voice is when you've got all that worked out, what do you share with the world? So in order to get that, I'm going to look at the branding that you have. And in order to get that to work out, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Once you've got these questions worked out, hopefully we'll work out what it is that you've got to share with the outside world. Does that make sense?
In theory.
Okay, good. First question is, who are you?
Hold on. What prize do I get if I get them all right?
You get to come back on the show. First question is, who are you? So describe in 60 seconds who you are.
My name is Debbie Gray. I'm a life coach and business coach.
Right. Why does that have a relevance for people?
It would have a relevance to people that are looking to make some kind of transition in their lives, try to improve in certain aspects of themselves or in certain aspects of their business.
Okay, we're going very generic here because people who means that nobody is targeted or feeling it, because everyone might go, yeah, but they're going, but she's not quite looking after me. I don't want to put myself forward just in case I'm not the right kind of fit. So with that, let's ask you a third question. Who's your audience?
My audience would probably be corporates over the age of 30 or small to medium business owners who have had some experience and are now got to a stage that they want further clarity.
Right. I'm going to throw a question at you. When you say corporates, do you mean like a building that's got business people in it? So you're talking to the bricks and mortar? Or is it more specific, more like a department or a job title that you say?
More specific managerial roles, team leaders for big industries.
Okay. And what is it that you would do for them specifically? What is it that they would turn around and say, right, Debbie, you can really help me with this because you do what?
Okay. People that are trying to streamline their teams, trying to manage and understand how they can get the most out of their teams better. Sorry, my voice. And people who are trying to implement systems to get their office to function at a higher productivity.
Okay, here's a big problem that you're facing at the moment, and it's because I haven't asked you the proper questions yet. The problem is with everybody who's got a job description, is they're being paid by an organization to be able to do the job that you're offering to do to help them. So, in order to find the budget to be able to hire your services, they've either got to pay it themselves, which is kind of like admitting that they can't do it and it's got to come out of their money, or they go to the organization and say, "Can you please hire in this person to help me?" In which case, they're kind of saying the same thing, which is, "I can't do the job. We need outside help." Now, in today's cutthroat environment, that's almost like saying, "Well, maybe you need to employ somebody else who's better at doing it than me."
Okay, was there a question in there?
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, my clients are individuals who pay for their sessions themselves. So, in short, they're people that know that they can go up a level, whether it is the business owner, whether it is the corporate manager, who knows that they can go up a level, but they're at a point where they want further clarity. Or with a small business, they're looking at streamlining systems in place to move with the times, to incorporate, say, AI, to incorporate financial solutions. And then that is the angle that we would then go. So they're normally individuals as opposed to paid by the company.
Okay, so with that, can we turn around and say you're not looking for somebody who's working in the corporate anymore? You're looking for somebody maybe who used to work in corporates, is now doing their own thing, but is finding it difficult maybe to create that relationship with staff or that communication about where they need to streamline. Would you say that that's the kind of person?
As in only business people or consultants rather than employed individuals?
I don't know. Well, if they're employed, the problem is that you have to go through proving that they need your services and they've got to find a budget for you. If it's an individual, then they know they need it. Now, the challenge might be that they financially have challenges to be able to pay for your services, but let's put those people to one side and say, supposing they retired with a great package, and so they're starting a side hustle or they're launching their own business, which could be consultancy, then is that person more likely to hire your services than somebody outside of that who's working for an organization?
I wouldn't see why not, because I mean, basically my standpoint is that everybody can use a life coach. It doesn't matter what point in their life they are in. It just depends on what their goal and end result is. Would it appeal to those that are looking to diversify? Yes. Would it appeal to those that have businesses that they're trying to improve on? Yes.
Okay, well, I'm asking you questions here, and you felt like a tennis ball. I'm trying to focus on voice. And what I'm getting from this is the fact that the questions that I'm throwing back at you and you're throwing back at me, and the lack of laser focus that we're finding might be why it's frustrating to get the right people. So let's just ask another question. What is it that when we find those right people establishes your trust, credibility, and the certainty that they should be working with you? Have you got evidence? Have you got proof? Have you got a certain mantra that you share with them that makes them go, you're exactly what I'm looking for?
I would say that I have 30 plus years of experience, which is incredibly valuable when looking at those that are starting out or looking at those that are trying to streamline. And that experience is within starting my own companies, working within technology, working within security. It's like a mixed bag that I can utilize to offer them a simplified version of what it is that they would need, or at least my experience is able to help them to move up to the next level, if that helps.
It does help a bit, but here's the thing. The fact that we've taken about 10 minutes to be able to get this means that for them, because they're just skimming through LinkedIn to find the person that can help, they may go past you unless you do actually say this. Your 30 years of experience in the industry is your credibility, and it is your trust, and it is a certainty. But when you're talking about the initial challenge, which is how do you find your voice, that's your voice. How do you make it so they choose you over the competition would be the biggest challenge. How can you put that into a very simple way that people go, oh my goodness, we need Debbie? That's the roadmap that we've got to look at. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense 100%.
So that means that your homework for this, to get to really clarify what your voice should be, is to work out who your avatar is, which you've established as somebody who's worked in corporate, that now is running their business. Now, this isn't the only avatar. You can have many avatars, but you want to focus on the lowest hanging fruit that will turn around and say, wow, you've done even longer than me in this industry, and you've achieved this. I really need your help. What's the fastest way to get you to work with me? That's what your voice should be. Everywhere.
You're so right. You're so right.
All right, there you go. That's a little tester of it. I'm going to throw the floor open to... Thank you, Debbie, by the way. I know you're going, right, Dave. Thank you very much. Get on with it. I'm going to throw the door open to the audience to see who wants to jump on stage, who's got a point they want to make, and what their biggest challenge is with their industry. Because the thing is, what happens is we end up chasing our own tail a lot and wondering why it is it's not resonating. And often what the thing is just getting your brand out there and working out what your brand is. And the only way to expose your brand is actually to be transparent and risk people turning around and going, ah ha ha, not quite what we're looking for. But at the same time, it means that you can get what you want from the right people. Now, I don't know if anybody in the audience has experienced this. By the way, it's great to see Simonetta. It's great to see Jeff Price again. Wonderful. Baddie's joined us too. Got Rasha, Laurelit, Warren, Shadi, Mahmood, and Khalid. All of you, good to see you as well. If you'd like to join us on stage, by the way, this is our Speak on Stage live broadcast on a Sunday. All you got to do is just put your hand up and say hi, and we'll get you to jump up on the stage. And everyone's waving, which is fantastic. But we haven't pressed the button to come up and join us on stage, which is fine. You don't have to. We'll just carry on chatting ourselves for the next 45 minutes or so, which is kind of what we do with this show. But we would love to find out what makes you tick. And while we've got this incredible group of people in the room, if you don't want to actually say anything, then just type it into the comments and we can look at it there if you're a bit embarrassed to speak as well, which is fine too. So
how do you get a thought leader to mentor you, Dave?
How do I get what?
How do we get thought leaders to mentor us?
Okay, the biggest challenge I think for the thought leaders is you've got to look at the person who you want to be doing business with. If you want to work with a thought leader, then obviously that's somebody who'd be seen as at the top of the food chain, not necessarily making a ton of money, not necessarily having written a book, but somebody who is well respected in their niche. So how do you get them to work with you? Well, obviously there's a couple of ways, one of which is quid pro quo. What can you offer them that they would want to have? The most obvious one is hiring their services, but sometimes it's access to an audience, or publicity, or marketing, or it could be introductions. It could be some kind of exchange. It always has to be some kind of exchange to do any kind of business, really. Otherwise, it seems like charity, and there's no way you can guarantee that things get done properly. But I would say that what you need to do with this is more and more, LinkedIn is trying to champion who it calls thought leaders. It's trying more and more to give people an opportunity to prove themselves to be very good at what they do. And the more you do prove it with your content and with your comments and with what you share, then it gets you higher up on the ranking, so you're exposed to more people. And so your job is to really work out who you are, what you do, and then get that out to as many people as possible. That's what I would say. From the point of view wanting to hire a mentor, I would say that work out what it is that you want to get fixed, and then look at who's providing that as a service. Some people do provide it, some people don't. They just mentor because they've been asked to just help out. It's a case of kissing a lot of frogs, I guess. Start with somebody, but remember your time is precious. I know their time is precious as well, but the faster you can focus on that relationship where you find somebody and you click, then that's the best way to move forward, of which there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn. Not everybody is charging for their services, but usually you'll find that at the top of the food chain, the reason why they get paid for doing it is because they're very, very good at getting to the heart of what the challenge is immediately, and you can take it from there. So Does that make sense, Debbie? Does that help to
No, yeah.
that question? So I've got a whole series of it. I've been talking about your origin story because I think it's really the fastest way to prove who you are to the world. Because your business storytelling skills come out from your origin story when you start saying, "This is me. This is what I do. This is what I've been through. This is the big change that happened to me. And that's why the change has made me a different person. And that's how I can help you." So if you're interested in how to get your origin story, because that should be what you put in your profile as well, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile. And it should be at the heart of what you post. When you share with everybody what it is that you can offer, if they feel that they know you as a person, they'll want to connect with you better. So that's kind of where this is going. But I don't want it to be a Dave Crane monologue. I want to talk to people. So if you've got a thought...
Hold on. Can I just ask a question? We've talked about myself as coaching. We're talking about you, thought leaders to mentor you. What is the difference between coaching and mentoring?
Right,
I think you're the best person to answer that one.
Great question. I studied to be a coach. And what a coach does is a coach asks questions so you can formulate your own answers, with the idea being that when you find out your own answers, then there's a neural pathway that's created in your brain that allows you to be able to hardwire those answers to grow within you on your own. So therefore, a coach shouldn't be supplying the answers for you. They should be asking you better questions. And then you go, "Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong." Now, the challenge between that and being a mentor, and I would say I'm more of a mentor than a coach, is I tend to work with people who want answers fast, who want to work with somebody who's done it, been there, and got the t-shirt. So therefore, I can take a look from a helicopter point of view at what they are, who they are and what they do. And then I'm able to give them a better, faster way of getting there. It's basically like if you're a coach, and there's lots of coaches out there, there's millions of life coaches across on LinkedIn, but the challenge is, how do you prove that you're the best at what you do? Now, you may be a really high-end coach, which is fantastic, but basically asking questions is what anybody can ask. If you've proven yourself to be really good at what you do and show yourself to be good in your niche, then it's much easier to say that you're a mentor, because people who need to be where you are will be able to turn around and help. Coaches generically work with anybody, but mentors specifically work with people in an industry that they've experienced. Does that help better?
Actually, a fabulous explanation. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm here to help as well. Monica's just joined us. She's going to say hi as well. How are you, Monica?
Hi, Dave. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if I should do that, but I'm trying to also come with a valuable insight, I guess. A coach is someone who can help you on a specific need, on a specific struggle, or on a specific goal, no matter the size. A mentor, and that's where you come on. That's where you come in, Dave. A mentor is someone who can help an individual, let's say, to become also the person that can achieve. For example, in your case, Dave, you help people to become great presenters. Correct me if I'm wrong. So let's say I don't know anything about it, and I want to go on a stage, or I want to improve my communication skills, or I have a very specific need that I want to cover. So that will a coach will help. But you can take someone from 0 to 1 million bucks, and you can transform that person. And a mentor, it's more of that than a coach. So I wanted to bring that, in my opinion.
Here's a challenge that I'll throw at you with that, Monica, because you are right, but here's what the challenge is. Coaches generally, even business coaches, generally ask questions of business people that allow them to fast track where they are. But it is a very generic thing. So unless the coach turns around and says, "I work in the oil trade," or "I work in crypto," or "I work in human resources," then they're going to find themselves finding it hard to close down potential clients, because anybody who's paying some money really wants an expert in their niche, which kind of closes the barrier between coaching and mentor. They want a mentor with coaching skills.
Sure. Thank you. Sure. A mentor will give you, how to say, will be providing, also not only questioning. A mentor, let's say Brian Tracy, I don't know, just a big name, Dave Crane. So Dave Crane can be a mentor, someone that is not yet there, not a keynoter, not on a stage, not so. Someone like that can be a coach for a specific need, and that's exactly the difference.
Got you. Does that answer that for you, Debbie? Because you're asking about the difference. Does that make sense?
Of course, I know the difference. However, I thought it would help for engagement for our audience to recognize the difference. So thank you. And thanks. Hi, Monica. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm really great. I'm happy to be all the time, every time here with you guys.
It's always lovely to have you on the show.
Yeah, I don't mean to pick on you, Debbie, by the way. I keep asking you questions because we're playing tennis against each other today for some reason with the broadcast. But no, you're absolutely right. I know that you know all these answers because we've been working together for almost years now, and you're a very skilled and brilliant coach. But
have I walked into something?
No.
Go on.
Fantastic, and I'm glad you're asking these questions because it allows other people to see. What tends to happen is people tend to observe, and they don't tend to say anything, but they go away with something more than they got when they joined, and that's what's really important about it. And so sometimes people won't ask because they don't want to look stupid. And for me, as you probably know from all the time that we spent, I have no shame. I will answer any question about anything virtually anyway to help get across the finishing line.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest problem of all, being afraid to say something, being judged, or the scary thoughts of saying something silly.
Yeah, I know, but here's the thing. I learned a long time ago when I was at school, and I hated most of it, I've got to be honest. I used to sit wherever I could get away with sitting, or wherever we were put in alphabetical order, and I just waited for it to be all over. And when I left school and people were saying, yeah, that's the best time of your life, I was thinking, no, it was rubbish. My best time is now because I don't have to go to school anymore. So then later on, I started doing personal development and going along to courses and paying for the courses myself. And I found that I would sit at the front, not sit at the back, not sit in the middle, because if I sat in the middle, I would be distracted by people scratching their head or putting their hand up or somebody being taller than me. So I wanted to be near the front so I could capture everything that the person sharing would do at the beginning of a room. And also, I wanted to make sure that I created some kind of visual relationship with the person who's running the room. So if I wanted to ask a question, then they'd see my hand go up first because I was at the front of the room. And that's something I would never have done at school because it wasn't very cool. Now, the reason I bring it up is because I think that it's really important to focus on what you really want out of things and to go for it. If you wait for things to come to you, the odds are you'll just die of old age. Or what will happen is you look at other people who suddenly do something and you say, well, that was my idea. Why didn't that come to me? That's because you didn't stand out and do something with it. And when you do stand up and do something with it, that's when you start going on that thought leader journey. And most of the stuff you do won't work. But the things that do work, if you get it just right, then that's when you start getting these incredible bits of success. So that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, a lot, like we're just saying, a lot of people get qualified to become coaches, but it all depends on who you got qualified from. And at the end of the day, you're only as good as the testimonials you get from the clients that turn around and say you were brilliant at doing it and the impact that you have. You know, I got when I first started talking about doing NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and saying I was an NLP coach, everyone was talking about being trained by Richard Bandler or John Grinder or lots of big names, Paul McKenna. And I said that I studied under the University of TJ. And people went, wow, that must be really good, because it was a real pecking order thing between people. And nobody ever asked me again, where was TJ? TJ was the name of my dog. And I just wanted to stop them having conversations about how good you are. So I think that it's really important to focus on the results you get rather than the qualifications. Some people will just want the qualifications. Fine, let them have that. But at the end of the day, it's what you do for people and how you make it different that ultimately people will respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting, the analogy with sitting front and sitting in the back or in the middle. I think it's also when you are reluctant to invest in yourself, to pay, to choose a coach, because this is the topic. So I think if you want to sit in usually you go to sit in the front row of a course, of anything, you sit in the front row because you want to learn better, you want to see better. If you go to opera or a movie, you want to get the best seats. So anyone should invest in themselves and get a coach, get a mentor. And sometimes the best performances, if you look at sportives, artists or anything, sport people in general, best performances comes from what I meant to say is that a great sport person has a coach and a mentor. The coach becomes also a mentor. So sorry, I get back and I mix a little bit.
All right.
But
It's all right.
yeah,
Here's one of the things that's so fascinating. When you get really big hitters, guys like Tiger Woods. Well, at some point he was the best golfer on the planet, and so he stopped thinking he needed a coach. And when he stopped working with a coach, suddenly his results went down, and it was purely because his coach might not be as good a golfer as him, but that's not what coaches do. Coaches observe, they encourage, they look at what's going on, they make observations, they tweak. And that tweak might be a fraction of a percentage of a difference. And we do enough of them, and suddenly there's a 5% difference. And that could be the difference between you winning a tournament and coming second. So that's why having a coach on a long-term basis who understands and works with you and knows what it is you're doing is so important. Now, I see in the group we've got Jeff Price, who's my brother from another mother. And we brought him on last week, and he was amazing. And he shared with us a ton of different insights. And of course, if you don't know Jeff, Jeff's a celebrity from the UAE, now in the UK. And we worked together in the early days of radio. I don't know if Jeff wants to jump us on stage and have a chat, but I know a lot of people have connected with you since we last had you on the show. And that's one of the reasons it was great to have you come back and join us again. So, ladies and gentlemen, my brother from another mother, a guy who knows more. In fact, he used to run loads of radio stations in the UK as well as many other things. Jeff Price, how are you?
Hi, Dave. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? Thumbs up, smiles.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Debbie.
Where are you right now, Jeff? Where are you?
I'm currently in the south of England, in a place nestled in the Surrey Hills, where the sun is non-existent. The clouds are plenty.
Well, if there's any consolation, Dubai is the same as that right now. Now, you've worked and we've worked together on radio stations, and this is something that came up to me thinking about it the other day. We can't name names for obvious reasons. We might get sued, and I don't really care, but there we go. We worked together at a radio station where we used to have new bosses coming in every 6 months who were meant to be mentors and experts who would come in, and basically their vision meant they treat everybody really bad. They'd change the entire radio station again to make it suit what they wanted. But by and large, very few of them were actually brilliant at what they did. Most of them ended up moving on because they didn't get the results, or they were trying to scratch an itch that they couldn't get rid of by coming on to do broadcasting. I think that's true for a lot of broadcasters anyway. So we've worked with mentors and worked with coaches and we've worked with experts. Yep. What's your overall thoughts about what you should do to choose the right mentor?
That's an awesome question. One very brief example is of a guy who came in whilst I was on holiday, and Dave and I were working really hard to hold this place up. But this guy came in and thought he knew everything there was to know about everything and anything, and then some. And I came back from my 2-week vacation to find that he'd actually pulled the seat from underneath me and had actually taken my role. What he didn't realise was that I'd actually been headhunted for a role in the UK and came back to give in my notice. And on the day that I was handing in my notice, I was driving across the road to the chairman, and incredibly, I saw this guy who had taken my job walking out of the chairman's office with his head between his legs and looking really forlorn. And I stopped the car, wound the window down, said, "Hey, what's up? I've just been sacked because I didn't deliver." And I gave it the big I am, as Dave has just been describing. And it was just one of the best days for me ever.
There you go. And we saw that happen so many times, and it's not a case of, the reason that we bring this conversation up is obviously there's a little bit of bruised egos that go into it when you're broadcasting, but also the fact that it happens in every aspect of business, that sometimes people stick their head up and they like to grow by pushing people out of the way. Good coaches, great leaders don't do it that way. What they do is they reverse engineer the process of success and empower everybody as a servant leader to be better at what they do, because they know that success lifts them and shows what great work they do. If you watch football and you see people like Pep Guardiola, who's probably the most successful manager of all time, apart from maybe Sir Alex Ferguson, and he's at Manchester City, who really hate Manchester United as well. He really empowers the very best out of all his players. He chooses the best players, but you see what an incredible team they become just because of his guidance. And I think that their ability to understand the market and grow other people makes somebody a really good mentor or coach. Would you say that makes sense?
Absolutely. There are so many elements coming into this. It's such a fantastic conversation. I was actually online at 6:30 this morning with a very dear friend of mine who I reached out to be a mentor for a while, and I met up with this guy. He was actually visiting London from Dubai not so long ago, and he's mentored people like Robin Williams, the great actor who struggled in his last days. But I mean, and so many other people. And funnily enough, just listening to you guys this morning, Tim, who I was with, we were just talking about what's our 15-second story, and I could hear Debbie kind of like almost with fingernails on the side of the swimming pool, trying to be pulled out of the pool, like, please help me. And that 15-second story is about faith and about belief, and here we're talking about believing in ourselves, and then also trusting in someone else to share some knowledge. And when you were talking and going back and forth, I couldn't help thinking of this 15-second story. What would be your 15-second story in how to get a thought leader to mentor you? Or what is your 15-second story as a mentor? Just take a moment to think back at where you were at the beginning of your journey, what you may have learned in the middle, and what the results are as you now, as a coach, as a mentor, as perhaps a thought leader. I learned from so many people. In the early days, what I used to do to how to get a thought leader to mentor was I actually picked up the phone. I called directory inquiries in the UK and said, I want to speak to Richard Branson. That's how simple it was. It took me 37 seconds to get onto one of his senior team. But in today's world, we have this thing, and this is what I wanted to ask you, Dave, because you brought up your training of coaching and your NLP days, which I remember so vividly. And now, years on from that, we've got this thing online called algorithms. So where the algorithms fit within this whole process of how to get yourself to where you want to be, and to get you to be within that circle of mentors, if you like. I remember, that book, The Secret. and your own personal kind of vision or where you see yourself wanting to be. How would you say, Dave, that comes in now with our online presence and the power, if you like, of algorithm?
That's a great question. I think that what you've got to do is there's a dance between the popularity of the algorithm. It changes all the time. So it's impossible to stay on top of it. It just changes so frequently that if you put all your eggs in the same basket and you say, right, this is what's going to get me to go viral, the next week you might find that you're just down the food chain because they've changed it again. I think that what you need to have, rather than focusing on that, is the ability to say that when you find me, you'll know you've found me because everything I've posted will prove to you that I'm the right fit for you. And so therefore, what you need to do is make relevant, consistent posts for the audience that you know you want to reach. So when they then check out who you are and they go across what's called your omni-channel, which is you on Facebook, you on YouTube, you on Twitter or X, whatever we call it, you on Instagram, as well as you on LinkedIn, they can see that there's a definite demographic, there's consistency that proves that you are the right fit for them. Does that mean you don't have massive numbers? I've never had massive numbers. In the early days, I used to get massive numbers on LinkedIn. But the only way that I got massive numbers was I was in groups of people who also had massive numbers. And we used to comment and post on each other's stuff. And so that meant that our fans our fans and followers, I hate that term, our contacts or connections would then follow us because the algorithm drove that. But then what LinkedIn got wise to, as many of them have done, is they realized that pods were kind of cheating, and they wanted to make it so that didn't happen. So they made a system that if your name comes up next to the same group of people all the time, then they're going to penalize it by making sure that you don't get to see nobody else outside of that group gets to see you in their feed. So the only way to do it is to create great content across the board, make sure you spread the way that you do it, and also make sure that you've got a life outside of your social media. Because what can happen, as it happens with every social media at some point, is it gets bought out, or it evolves, or it changes, or it goes down in the food chain. And if all your eggs are in that basket, you disappear overnight. I remember when people were using, was it Vine? Vine was a huge social media thing that they used for ages. I remember reading about an influencer that had 8 million followers, and she was making great money and traveling, and everybody loved her. And then Vine closed. It was bought out by somebody, I can't remember which platform, who closed it down to make sure theirs stayed and got bigger. And she lost everything immediately. So one of the things you need to do is create this omni-channel, this voice, where you can reach lots of different people by email. They can join you on your podcast. They can see you at live events, but they also can connect with you directly. That's one of the reasons when you look at the comment section of what we created inside this post today, I've put a number of different opportunities for people. If you want to be a rock star and you want to read what a rock star should do, there's a free PDF waiting for you. Just go to the link that's in the comments and there you can have it. Just click, register, download it. You can start on that in 30 seconds. If you want to join our WhatsApp group where we've just been talking about this month's session on how to find your original voice and your origin story, that's for free. Join the WhatsApp group. If you want to upgrade your business or get a coach or work directly with me or get some of our programs to grow your LinkedIn, then all you have to do for that is you go to the links there. So I make sure that wherever I am, whatever I do, there's easy ways for people to connect, and not everybody wants to buy. So what happens really is, in the figures of things, 5% of people, when you advertise, are interested in buying from you at the time. 95% of people aren't interested in buying, but they say, oh, that's interesting. I'll keep it in my head for a little while. So when they do go around to doing it, they remember it came from you. It can be worrying because you think, well, nobody's paying attention, especially when I post on, if I post on Facebook, it's almost impossible to reach any audience. Like 2-3% of your audience will see you because the algorithm wants you to pay for advertising to boost your post. LinkedIn may well go in that direction. I don't think it is yet. But I think ultimately what you have to do is make as much noise as you can do when you're around, but be really relevant to people. You don't want to have a huge group of people that work with you. You want to have really deep roots with a tribe that connect with you. It's a long-winded question, Jeff, but I hope that kind of answers it a bit.
Gotcha. Thanks, bro. Thank you. In my, I was listening to Debbie earlier on and listening to her. I have 30 years of experience, and I was listening to Dave and him trying to pick out what is those 30 years of experience. I mean, Dave's given me that treatment too, Debbie. You know, out of love. You know, and he's so
On
right.
stage.
Oh, what happens on stage? What happens on stage, Dave?
Stays on
stage, right? And what happens backstage? Well, that's a whole other story.
We don't go there.
I guess at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for us to just take a pause and think of, okay, so yeah, we've had 30 years of experience, but that 30 years of experience could have just been like getting on a plane, going on a holiday somewhere. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
What
Find
is
you
that?
explain it better.
What
Well,
is that experience?
It's more specific to jump into that. If you read Malcolm Gladwell's stuff, and he's got a book called Outliers, which is amazing. And what he talks about is an expert, an outlier, has got 10,000 hours of purposeful experience. So the purposeful experience isn't just driving a car. Everyone's driven a car, and you've probably driven it for like 10,000 hours or something like that. But it's when you're pushing yourself to get better at doing it. So therefore, driving your car, going on courses to become a stunt driver, or doing pursuit, or taking it onto a Formula One track, or driving on a course where you got to go backwards, or driving lots of different cars, that's when you start becoming an outlier, because you test yourself. So one of the classic examples that Malcolm Gladwell gives is, if you are going to be a world champion in ice skating, you become the world's #1 ice skater because you've fallen on your backside more times than anybody else to try and get that double twist with a tuck with an overhead flip thing, or whatever it is that you do. You got it wrong more times until you got it right. And that means that when you do go into the shows and you do take part in the presentations and competition, you can do better than everybody because you've got it wrong more times. And so that's the key to this. You do have to get it wrong more times. So 30 years of doing the same job is not the same as 5 years of really pushing yourself. And so the difficulty is, especially in a corporate world where they try and keep you kind of where you should be because they might want to promote you, but it's not your turn this year and all the rest of it, you really have to become a CEO of your own life and push yourself harder and harder as though you were promoting and testing and you had a team of a board of directors who are seeing how you could grow. When you keep doing that, you can then take a look at yourself and say, what do I do better than anybody else? And that's when you've got something you can sell, because that's what people will be looking for. But it's equally easy to do something that nobody's interested in, but you think that they should be. So many times I've come up with stuff that is ahead of the game. I mean, Jeff, you remember when I was doing hypno shows in Dubai when I first started? I'm sure I know Aziz was there for most of them. I'm sure you were there when I did a hypno show for one particular company where all the staff hated each other. There was a takeover from another company in the insurance world. I'll give you that much. And the staff hated each other. They didn't want to be there. They hated the bosses. And they brought me in to do a hypnosis show to make everyone come together. But to do a hypnosis show, you've got to have everybody wanting to get up on stage and have fun. If they hate each other and they hate the bosses and they're not happy, the last thing they want to do is get hypnotized. So it was a really difficult gig to do, really challenging. But once you've been through that, like I have, and once I've felt what it's like to have a terrible session, it makes it a lot easier to be able to decipher what you need to do in the future. And that involves asking the questions up front. Who's the audience? What have they been through? What are their biggest challenges? And why will they want to get on stage before you actually accept the gig and do it? So I think it's all part of the experience. It's all part of the learning curve.
I remember that too. My goodness. It's so right. It's so right. It's your failures that really make the story. It's you know, in the radio world, just as our example, as you know, we have worked in that field together as well as in others. If you're on the radio and you make a mistake and you're on live radio, you either fall apart and the whole thing finishes there and then, and the show goes off air, or you recover. And it's how you recover that makes the experience. It's how you get out of that hole.
So true.
Yeah, it really
Give the
is.
example, Jeff, of not radio, but what about when Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars? He made a joke which wasn't particularly funny about Will Smith's wife. Will Smith, for whatever reasons of what was going on, which sounds to me like he was having a lot of pressure from his wife in life anyway, goes up, slaps Chris, and suddenly has to return the Oscar, suddenly has to turn around, and he's persona non grata by the community for a good year, 2 years. And he was, previous to that, the most popular actor probably on the planet, all for the sake of a slap that happened across 5 seconds. So live
Yeah.
is really challenging. That's why the experiences sometimes hold back. Makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, big time.
Although,
And-
having said that, Chris Rock came out better and is a lot more popular since.
Oh, completely. Chris Rock's a legend. I was watching a documentary all about him and Kevin Hart, and it's on Netflix, talking about their experiences and their career and how they've grown together, because they actually went on tour together. But they talk about all the actors and comedians. It's a fascinating world to be in. I've just seen Joanne's just joined us, and if you'd like to join us on Joanne, on stage, Joanne, you're very welcome. You always add an extra level of sanity to the stage. And so I know it's probably that you're having your breakfast. That's why you're not putting your hand up to join us. But we've only got about 10 minutes left. 8 minutes as we look at it. I'd love to have you on there. So we're talking about getting a mentor. We're just talking about all the challenges of finding the right one. But the way you should do it is, if you are a mentor or you are a thought leader or you are looking to be able to position yourself, first of all, my new book, which is the Thought Leaders Playbook, will be available soon in the shops on Amazon, and we'll give you a sneaky peek with the interviews that we're doing with these big thought leaders throughout the rest of this season. But also, I think you have to think about the fact that you should be giving people a little teaser of who you are and what you do, which sometimes means that you should be, having a one-to-one session with them, but that's not often cost effective. You need to put stuff out about who you are, so in their own time they can find you. So that means they need to watch videos, they need to listen to podcasts, they need to read your posts. They want to be able to see you on stage, and if they can't see you on stage, join you in a community. They want to see what other people are saying about you as well. And once they've been through that, and I can't remember the exact stats, I will have them. Daniel Priestley has done some amazing stuff on this. He's an incredible thought leader who wrote the book KPI. Then you can work out how your audience goes on a journey. So let me give you a very quick example before we go to Joanne. So, for instance, I think you have to have 7 different platforms, meeting people 4 different times, and they've got to spend about 8 hours in your company. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that you've been stalking them or bumping into them. It just means that when they go to find you, they find you, and they can listen to podcasts on their own before they buy from you. So, for instance, that means for a car company, when somebody walks into a car company, they're not trying to sell them a car, they're trying to get their contact details, so then by email, they can give them 7 different types of places to meet. That might be on YouTube watching videos, that might be by email, that might be in a WhatsApp group or a get-together of all the people who are enthusiasts about that car. But then they go to give them a number of different things, so they ratchet up those figures. I can't remember exactly what the stats are. So by the end of it, the next time the person comes back into the shop, they've already been marinated to buy, but not with the salesperson having to do all the heavy lifting themselves. As a thought leader, part of your job is to make sure that people can get access to who you are, so you don't have to do it yourself. Joanne, I've stopped talking to say hi to you. How are you?
Good morning. How's it going?
Always
I'm
good.
up in Dublin today. I'm up in Dublin. I have a rental house up in Dublin. My tenants just left, so we bought blow up beds last night. Me and my daughter, and we came down here just to spend the night. So we're kind of camp glamping style.
Excellent. So you're renting your property out to somebody, and now you're going in to clean up after them.
I know, it's dreadful. Don't talk to me, Dave. Don't even get me started.
Okay.
They left the house in an awful state. No rent paid, all of that. I'm just blessed they've left. So
Oh my
anyway,
goodness. Right.
it could be worse.
It could
But
be a lot worse.
I'm sitting out here in my conservatory, and the sun is just beaming in, and I'm just reminiscing the old days when I used to live here. So it's all good.
There you go. Life does work itself out. As far as I'm concerned, if you still got some life, that means you're winning.
You're living, absolutely, and the opportunity to grow as well, absolutely. Living on purpose.
There we go.
As you
Now
say.
you're a coach, and do you mentor as well as coaching?
Yeah, well, no, not mentor, coaching. So sleep coaching, health coaching, lifestyle changes, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so
And even like, go on, yeah.
the question I was gonna ask is, we mentioned earlier, what's the difference between a mentor and a coach? And
All
so
right.
I wanted to see what your take on that is as a coach, why you are not a mentor, or could you be?
That's a possibility. So coaching, and so the difference, the distinction for me is a coach empowers people. I'm all about empowering, right? Helping people discover how amazing they are, and that they can make their own choices in life to make their life work for them, right? That's in a nutshell. But it's about asking them the questions, because everybody has their own answers. Everyone has the answer to their problems, their suffering, their challenges, whatever you want to call it. So a coach kind of asks really good questions where the client will get that light bulb moment. Oh my God, I can do this, or, and then a mentor is, a mentor goes one step further and actually does things, connects them with people, or does things for them and makes it happen. It's that one step further to speed up the process as well as coaching. So a mentor for me is somebody who would, like you, Dave, who knows people and can get you connected, and tells you what you need to do, and gives you the brutal side of it, because it's not all nicey either. Like, you have to be cruel to be kind and wake people up. Yeah.
Spot on. That is exactly the definition I came up with at the very beginning. And it is
Really?
important. Yeah, completely. It's so important to turn around to people and say to them, sorry, but you're full of it. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And you say it because
Yeah,
you mean it with a generous heart. You've
Yeah.
spent years getting it wrong, which allows you to turn around and say, that's not going to work. Do it this way. But the challenge sometimes is when people turn around and they say, well, I'm still going to do it. Well, that makes them uncoachable. Because
exactly.
they're going to
Yes.
blame you because it didn't work out, and you already told them don't do it that way.
Yeah, and I say try it on like a coat, like a coat or a new suit or something. Just try it on, see how it fits. That's how I tell them how to be coachable. Just try it on, just be open and just see, and because the minute they're not open to it, they're never going to grow. They're not open to the possibility, to the change. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. It really is.
Absolutely. And one of the things is, for anybody who's listening who wants to obviously connect with any of our wonderful coaches on stage and in the room, then feel free to connect directly. But also, if you are thinking, I don't have the budget, I'm already tied up with all the bills and everything, you're wondering, how do I get access to a proper coach who can help me? There's two things. First of all, I would always recommend play with AI. Go on to artificial intelligence. For $20 a month, you can get access to the paid version of ChatGPT. They've also got a way to allow you to create your own GPT. So you can create a coach based on your subject or your industry that's there to help you. And you can program that to help you. Now, I'm just going to throw as a caveat out there, I am not saying that your content won't get spilled across the ether at some point by the people that are doing it. But at the same time, what do you care? Because if you get the results and you make more money and you get a happier life, then that's it. The other thing I would suggest that you do is think about who it would be that you'd like to be coached by. Now, when you think about that, you can think, well, are they alive or dead? Are they a cartoon character? Are they real? Because your brain is a supercomputer. Artificial intelligence is only a replication of what we already have in our own brains. So if you turn around and say, I'd like to be trained by Bugs Bunny or Superman or Batman or anything like that. I don't know, Warren Buffett or even Einstein. You can ask yourself questions. What would Einstein say? Now, let me give you an example for that. Years and years ago, when I was on the radio with Jeff, I wanted to become like Paul McKenna. Paul McKenna is a very famous hypnotist in the UK, NLP master practitioner and thought leader. And I couldn't afford his services at the time because I'd stopped working on radio because I didn't want people to see me as a DJ and also as a therapist, because getting people drunk, mad to dance everywhere as a DJ and then saying, let me help you to stop smoking, it didn't really fit well together. So I stopped DJing to allow myself to have a new persona and position. And so I needed help, and I thought, well, I'm going to approach Paul McKenna. I couldn't get access to Paul McKenna. In the end, I worked with him not long after that. Actually, we were on the same bill. But then I thought, well, I'm going to ask myself some questions as though Paul McKenna was answering. So I thought to myself, if I only have a finite amount of money, and that can either go to rent, or it can go to food, or it can go to buying books and going on courses, what would Paul McKenna say as a suggestion? Now, Paul McKenna wasn't there, but my brain said, well, you've got to eat, and you've got to learn and grow. So maybe that's what you focus on first, because you do have a time where you can find out how to pay your rent between now and then from clients and so on. And so that's what I did. And I found out a lot of the answers I needed, my brain was able to create just by imagining that person was coaching me. Now, for anybody who's lost a loved one, it doesn't mean you've lost access completely. You can still come up with their wisdom by asking them, what would they say? You can actually turn around when you program ChatGPT or any other system like that and program in somebody dead, alive, famous, just by saying the kind of things that they do. Say somebody's a bit like Einstein, but also, caring like Maya Angelou. If you put that together as a virtual coach, then suddenly you'll start getting answers, not perfect, but inspirational, to allow you to maybe then combine that with the way that you interpret things in your own head, and it will help you get through a lot of challenges. So if you're on a budget and you're wondering how to do that, then it's not difficult. Alternatively, if you're not on a budget, talk to me and I'll help you get there faster. Does that make sense to everybody? Everyone's gone quiet.
That's very clever. That's very, very clever, Dave.
There you go.
Sorry. Yes, no, that was actually incredible. That was incredible advice. Thank you.
No worries. Well, I'm here to help as much as I possibly can. And there we go. We're just about to close the room. Hope wants to jump on. So we'll have a quick word from Hope, and then we'll close the room. For everybody who's just joined us, we do it for an hour on a Sunday, unless actually I'm traveling or doing a gig, in which case we do.
Can you hear me,
Friday.
please?
Yeah, I'm still talking, Hope. Hold on a minute. We'll put you on in a second. I'm just explaining to everybody that we are not closing the room because anybody's arrived. We only stay open for about an hour or so. So now over to Hope and over to you. How can we help you, Hope? Hello?
All right. Good morning to everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a lot of interference, but carry on.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, I'm sorry. Please don't say, yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, do you want to say something?
Hello? Yes. My speakers are bad. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me clearly?
It's painful. I'll give you one more go, Hope. I think your internet's a bit of a challenge, but let's give you another go to say something very quickly.
Yeah. Hear you.
What would you like to say, Hope?
Gosh.
Not to worry. Look, Hope, I think you need to work on your internet for next time. We'd love to have you on, but we gave you a couple of chances to jump in just as we're about to finish the session. So what I suggest is just work on your internet connection. I think maybe you've got a challenge there going onto your own phone data package, or making sure you've not got too much of an interaction. If you want to, we'll give you a few moments to type it in as a comment. Then we can see what it was you were actually wanting to say to us. If you want to type it into the comment section, then we'll respond to whatever your question or thoughts were, because we can't always guarantee to be able to get you up on stage because of the internet issues that we get. I know, but Jeff will want to say goodbye. Jeff, you want to just put your hand up? We'll get you back on stage again. And Hope's going to have another go. Hope, I've got to be honest with you. If you can't get it right this time, then I won't get you back on again. So we'll give you a chance now. Ladies and gentlemen, with a hope and a prayer. Is Hope. Are you there, Hope? Can you hear us?
All right. Hear me now. Can you hear us? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Only just. Quickly, what do you want to say?
Okay. Budget you spoke about. How to get a copy of the budget? I would like to look at it and be able to get more mentorship speakers. Like I really don't have like a real plan I can work with. So I would really appreciate if you can help me like PDF file or something. Something I really work with. Like this
Yep.
is
Yep.
it doesn't work for you.
I'm going to jump on Hope
And
because the challenge is it's really hard to hear you. So what I'm going to suggest is if you go to the comment section on where we have this post, I've got a number of different things for you to check out. If you go to the entrepreneurial branding, Unleash Your Inner Rockstar, that has got a PDF that you can jump into and you can start working on straight away. Just register there and you can download this PDF. It'll be very, very useful to be able to work. Yeah, I can't hear you, Hope. It's a real challenge. I'm going to move you down to the listening bit, but hopefully I'll be able to answer your question, which was, how do you get started? Have a look at the comments section. There's a number of different opportunities there, whether you want to do something that's paid or you want to do something that's for free. There's different options for you there, depending on the investment you want to make into yourself. The industry icon being the highest level of working with me on a one-to-one basis. So I hope that answers your questions. And one thing I will say before we close the group is what we benefit from more than anything is if this session is useful to you, please leave a comment in the comment section about what you got from today's session. That really, I can't tell you how important it is. It helps other people understand whether it's worth joining this group or not. And if you can share an insight or something that was useful, then that means that we can use that to help other people find something from it. Debbie, over to you. You want to say something?
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, my understanding of what Hope was trying to say was he was asking about your book. But what I would like to say is, Hope, join the WhatsApp group. You will benefit from so much knowledge. You will benefit from all the monthly things that we do. The WhatsApp group it's gold. It really is worth and valuable. But yes, he was asking about your book.
Got you. I couldn't pick it up, but thank you for that. The book will be out soon, shortly. Myself and Aziza are working on getting it published. It'll be on Amazon. But I did the launch of it in Davos at the World Economic Forum. I did record that. I'll be sharing that very soon. And also the many thought leaders that I really connect with and resonate with. Many of them I'm going to be interviewing throughout this season. And I'll give you plenty of information about the book. We'll give you an opportunity to know more about that over the coming weeks. But in the WhatsApp group, people get first refusals of everything, so that's really where we want to go. Hope, I'm not going to get you on again this week. My apologies, but it's a real challenge to be able to hear you, and it just sounds like you're gurgling or gargling with the internet. I don't know how that looks, but I'm not going to go there anymore. So there we are. Okay, so the amount of time we've got, which is very limited. Any last thoughts from our incredible panel? And also, our incredible panel, turn up earlier. Next time, we'll get you on earlier. Joanne, I know, was sleeping in her garage, so she's kind of forgiven, sleeping on a lie-low. But there we go. So on those thoughts, Joanne, would you like to say something before we close the room?
As always, even though I just caught the last few minutes, it's never too late to jump in. And just really enjoy. I just love your conversations, Dave. They're very powerful. Thank you. And Deb, it's great to see you again.
Joanne, it's always a pleasure to see you, darling.
If they ever bring the Spice Girls back together again, you two are going for the auditions. I'm telling you now. I'm not sure what
the geriatric version.
There you go. Well, I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. No, I'm joking. Debs, do you want? In fact, Aziza, do you want to say something? You've been very quiet today. Anything you want to say? Hi.
I'm just very quiet because it's raining in Dubai, and I have no idea how Debbie, Joanne, and Jeff is doing it every day, because to me this is so depressing. I miss the sun, I miss the heat, I miss everything that's good about Dubai. So I'm just like, I can't speak.
Dear. Well, I'm sure it'll all get better. And I'll go and collect Maya. I'll go and get Maya. Don't worry about it, because I'm sure we need our daughter back at some point. Jeff, you're in the UK now, where clearly the sky's gone on holiday, but you lived in Dubai alongside me for a good 20 odd years plus. So what's the advice you can give about the UK weather versus Dubai to make Aziza feel better?
Oh my goodness. Well, there are brighter days coming. as I look out the window, we have these flowers called crocuses, which is like an early sign that, you know, the good times are coming. So, and you know what? When I'm in Dubai, I'm always wishing for that day that it would rain. And then when I'm in England, I would always wish that we'd get the sunshine. The grass is never greener.
Well, there you go. And what people don't realize about living in Dubai, by the way, is the government in this country actually do seed the clouds to make it rain.
Yes.
Because it's not natural for it to rain here, or not as often as it is doing. So they actually send drones up to electrify the clouds, or seed some kind of chemicals to make it rain. So this is man-made, deliberate. And I've got to admit, I hate it. I get woken up at 3 in the morning with my dogs who hate waking me up. I hear and it's snow because she hates thunder. But there you go. Sorry, Jeff.
Well, Aziza, just a quick heads up that it's quite possible that tomorrow is going to be quite rough. Apparently, government employees have been asked to stay at home tomorrow and work remotely in Dubai and the UAE because things might be getting a bit rough. But give it 24 hours and that sunshine could be back again.
I can't go on any meetings tomorrow because if she's going to be at home, she's going to be on Zoom next to me. So I'm like, oh, good Lord. I need her back in school.
There's one last thing I'd like to say, and that's for Hope. Hope, thank you for persisting. And there were 5 words that I got from your broken internet connection. Can you help with a plan? I think that's 5. Help me with a plan. And then there was questions about Dave's book. So Hope, thanks for persisting with this group. You've got some awesome connections, and we can all chip in and we can all help with that plan.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, Hope. Here's one of the things that's really strange about it as well, Jeff. You and I, we ended up leaving the UK to go to Dubai because of persistence. We'd both done okay-ish in radio, and we hadn't had the break that we wanted to get. And so in the end, independent of each other, we both said there must be somewhere bigger and better that we can go and seek our fortune. So we both ended up in Dubai. We worked for an agency called Juliana's. And I remember one particular time we were on the roof of the Intercontinental Hotel, not waiting to jump, just enjoying the fact of looking out onto the beautiful city and saying, this could be ours one day. We could actually be on a radio station where we're broadcasting to all these people. Wouldn't that be amazing? And it literally was maybe in less than a year, maybe even 6 months later, a radio station came along. They were looking to recruit some local talents. You got on there. You said you should talk to Dave as well. And before you knew it, we were both working on the biggest radio station at the time that the country had ever seen, and made such a big difference to everything. So the first step is just stepping up and belief. And after that, magical things start happening and showing up in your radar.
That's it. See it and then believe it.
There you go.
That's it.
Amazing. Debs, do you want to have a final word?
I doubt I have anything as valuable as you guys have put into the crowd today, but just thanking everybody that participated today. It's been great to interact with all, and wishing everybody a fabulous week ahead, whether there's rain, whether there's sunshine, or whatever weather we have. May you always see the magic.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I can't even match that. That's so cool. What I will say, though, is we do record sessions now. And so this session, I'm not sure how we're going to package it, but it will be available on our podcast. I don't think I'm going to broadcast it across LinkedIn, but it will be available as an archive for people to get on our podcast blog. So they're not wasted, they're utilized, and the more you can spread the word, the more you come along, the more welcome you are. Every single week we meet on a Friday or a Sunday, usually a Sunday because it's easier to do. And we share ideas, thoughts, and ways to give you the ability to jump and go rings on the way down. The idea is to get you to a finishing line faster than you would be on your own. And the best bit is when you look around and you get to see the familiar faces who got you there with you, then you know that you always have friends. And the difficult times which always come ahead, you won't be on your own. You can turn on to people who know and care about you. And that's the bottom line. This is Speak on Stage. It's my honor and pleasure to spend this quality time with you. Without you here, it's a monologue. And trust me, I've got enough voices going on in my own head without keeping that going 24/7. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to close the room, close the podcast. I look forward to catching up with you soon the next time on Speak on Stage.